Some of our recent comments have focused on questions around what do we stock that is not typical cigar shop stock. By that I mean, of course, the Cubans we all know well, many of the more popular non-Cuban productions. They've proliferated in European markets and even here in the UK, which for many years was a Cuban stalwart. Slowly, surely, we're seeing the emergence of some exquisite cigars. So I'm addressing that question head on with a dear colleague and co-founder of Boutique Smokes, Joe Berg.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure, Joe. Welcome.
Thank you.
I was going to try the difficult task of discussing and describing your lovely portfolio of cigars that we know well, that I enjoy all the time. But I thought if I try that, I'll only mangle it. So if I may, and I'm sure our viewers will appreciate it as well, could you give us a little introduction and tour of some of your choice selections that come from all over the world except Cuba? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. A pleasure. So we, as you said, we kind of champion the smaller producers who have the opportunity to try different things and produce phenomenal cigars that otherwise might not get the attention they deserve. So that's what we like to bring to the fore.
What's your metric for, how do you go about the process of meeting and sourcing and deciding which one of these producers they're going to be? Because you've had a fantastic track record with them.
Thank you. It's a lot of trial. So we will try across the year, myself and my partner Mike, we will try hundreds of different cigars from different producers. And so first of all, the cigar has to be one that we enjoy, that's so good it's memorable, that you can literally recount when the first time you tried that cigar was. If it sticks in the brain that much, it's probably going to work. We're lucky we have similar palates, and so far people have enjoyed what our palates have enjoyed as well. And then it's about the people that we're going to be working with. So again, small producers, often a family-run business. Mm-hmm. How well do we work with them? And how about their production? So usually either they have their own small factory, or more likely they'll have a section of a larger factory, but they must have kind of control over their production and their blends. It's not just cigars made and they'll stick another band on it. Right. It's their creation, something that they're proud of, that we can then take that same pride and represent in the UK.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, please, I can see you've got the pure amber there. That's a yes. Delightful smoke. I already know it well. Please tell me about them.
Well, again, it's a family business, mm-hmm. which we love. It's a third generation of the family now representing it with Ram Rodriguez. He's 65 years or so that they've been in the world of tobacco with their own factory and also linking together all the local farmers. And what I love about this, the pure amber, is it's a puro. And in the new world, it's something that we don't often find. Obviously, every Cuban cigar will be a puro cigar. And for those that are unsure of the phrase, it simply means a cigar where all of the tobacco in that cigar is produced in that one country. With Artista cigars, it's the Dominican Republic. And for me, this is a fantastic light to medium cigar that I could enjoy daily with a coffee. It's got that creaminess and a little bit of spice through the end. I think it's a fantastic blend and really showcases the tobaccos that they're producing and working with in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, I agree very much. And if I'm not mistaken, same producer also makes these extraordinary box pressed ones, right?
Yes. So you've got the Buffalo 10 series. They make the Maduro, which I have in my hand here, and the Natural as well here, and they do a Connecticut wrappered version as well. A lot of people are unsure when they see the box pressed shape as to why that would be the case. Some people, it's about the mouth feel and how it is in your mouth when you're holding it. Others, I mean, I think it was the John family who box pressed their cigars purely so that they had when they had an angled table, that the cigar, when they laid it to rest, wouldn't roll down the table. But one of the main reasons for box pressing a cigar is that it allows you to change the fundamental composition of the blend. And so the reason this cigar becomes box pressed is that they have a very unusual Dominican Negrita binder tobacco, which the blenders just love the flavour of. But if you did a standard kind of production of cigar, the filler tobaccos would likely just slightly overpower that binder tobacco, because the binder is not usually used for aroma, it's more for the combustibility of the cigar. So to change that composition and that ratio between the binder and the filler, they box press.
Joe, may I just interrupt you for a moment? Again, some of our viewers may not know the different layers of leaves, but when we say binder, that's the leaf that goes beneath the outside leaf called the wrapper. And the binder really is doing a lot of the holding, isn't it? The sort of...
Yes, it maintains the construction of the cigar while you're smoking it, and it also aids that combustion. It keeps the cigar alight for you while you're breathing through, whereas if it was kind of the filler tobaccos tend to be much richer in oils, gives you a lot more flavour, but they're harder to burn. So it's that combination of the combustibility of the binder and that flavour from the filler tobacco that usually gives you the majority of the kind of the overall flavour and gives the cigar its kind of feel. Then you have the wrapper leaf that's wrapped around, which is visible, and in New World cigars they tend to have a much thicker wrapper leaf, so it contributes a lot more to the flavour of the cigar than in the blend of a Cuban cigar, for example, where the wrapper leaf is so thin it would almost be inconsequential to the overall flavour.
I have to say, the first time you showed these to me, I'm a bit of a pyromaniac, so in my youth I used to buy Fireworks in France, and one variety was essentially dynamite sticks that came wrapped in red tissue paper. I think it was called Tiger brand, and it was a pack of 5 dynamite sticks. When I saw that, it had the same tactile, well-pressed feeling, and even when you pull out the cigars, that box pressing is unique. It is really slim box pressing.
It's incredibly slim, and again, it was the way that's achieved is there is less filler leaves used and more binder leaves. So that's that change in that ratio that they wanted to achieve, which aesthetically has created a very unique shape. But the main thing is it allows that rarer kind of binder flavour to really sing out and to come and over that filler tobacco and gives us the flavour that we're really enjoying from this. The other thing is again, that we spoke about a little bit earlier, was the effect that the wrapper leaf will have on the blend of the cigar. Not a factor in some, but in this one definitely, because one of the major changes between the different ranges is simply the wrapper leaf. The Maduro leaf, a lot of people usually are concerned when they see that dark wrapper that it's going to be an incredibly strong cigar. But that's not often the case with this cigar. For me, it's still a kind of light to medium strength smoke. But the Maduro wrapper leaf, it's had more interaction with the sun, hence its nice tan. But that means it's produced more sugars in the process, and that gives you a real sweetness on the lips. Literally a kind of little tingle from that, and that obviously coats that flavour and that palate with that sugary sweetness throughout.
Wow, what an education. That's interesting. We talk about the New World when we describe non-Cuban production, and I know that's a little provocative, perhaps. It's not intended to be. I think we're just looking for a way to generalize certain productions. It's the easy way to say it. However, here's a brand that takes that head on, isn't it? Tell me all about it.
Yes, so one of our brands is El Viejo Continente, which translates as the old continent. And so I guess a tongue-in-cheek dig at the fact that there's been tobacco production and manufacture across the world and not just in Cuba for such a long time. And so again, a rich history. This one that we're showcasing here is the Circus Petite. And This is a tie-in to the founder, Daniel. It's a tie-in to his family's history, because they were actually involved in the largest traveling circus that went around Spain, where he's from. And so he wanted to produce a range that kind of paid homage to that side of his family history. But he's obviously moved away from that, and so he's based his company in Nicaragua, and their factory out there. And he comes across to Spain every so often, but most of his time is in Nicaragua. And they're a really interesting kind of producer, because they have their own factory, which is quite a large kind of investment, but they make everything themselves. They do everything. So even their boxes,
Oh, wow.
the cellophane that goes around everything, they produce almost
You're
everything
joking.
themselves. Yeah, which allows them. They produce some exquisite kind of one-off masterpiece humidors that every so often they get the wood craftsman to go, right, have some fun, go and make something amazing. So they make beautiful display cases for their ranges and bits like that. So that's very nice. This cigar, I was chatted to him about the blend of this, and I found it very interesting. It's a Circus Petit, which is kind of a half Corona. So you're looking at I would say a 15 to 25 minute smoke, depending on how fast you smoke. And so for him, what he wanted to create with this blend, it's still a premium hand-rolled cigar, and it's to enjoy at times where we have winter approaching, that you may not want to be outside for quite so long to enjoy that cigar, but you still want to feel like you've had a full cigar. And so for him, he had to create a blend that allowed you to have the development that you look for in a cigar. That kind of, a lot of people talk about the three different thirds of a cigar. He wanted to recreate that, but in a much shortened space of time. And I feel with this blend that he's really achieved that. It's a very interesting kind of mix. For Nicaraguan, I would say it's milder than I would expect. I usually associate Nicaraguan tobacco with a kind of a rich kind of strength to it. This has got a deep flavour to it, but it's a medium strength, I would say. It still has the kind of a little bit of chili and a little bit of pepper towards the end, but you do have, for me, a noticeable kind of transition in stages as you smoke the cigar. So it's very much like reading a short story. You have the full kind of this tale being told, but in a much more condensed version. And I feel he's achieved that very well with the blend.
Beautiful. I have to say, I was playing with the box. I love how they've put together really 2 rows of short cigars in a box that looks like a Lancero size. And I think they've taken the trouble of doing what my father does with his Lanceros. Tends to cut them into thirds or halves. Well, they've pre-cut them for him. What a beautiful presentation. And a cracking cigar. I have to say, I've enjoyed this very much as well.
Yeah. It's a phenomenal, and it is exactly that. This is the same size box used for Lanceros. So in terms of size-wise, they've definitely taken a leaf out of your father's book on that one.
Beautiful. And what's this beauty?
So this is the Dapper El Borracho. El Borracho, again, translates pretty much as the drunkard. So this one is a little bit more full-bodied. Again, another Nicaraguan producer. But again, someone who was not necessarily born into the cigar world. So it was Ian Reith, who was based in California. And he has always loved cigars and was moving over and kind of eventually started making a few cigars for him and his friends to enjoy, and poker games and that kind of thing. And got to the point where enough people were saying, okay, we'd like a sensible amount of these, and you're very good at this. This is something you should be doing. So the company was founded about 10 years ago, and what he's achieved is phenomenal. Again, a really nice box press cigar. This one not quite so flat and thin, and much more kind of traditional box press, and an Edmundo size. So for me, this is a really again, not an overpowering or not abrupt or too powerful Nicaraguan tobacco. It's a very, very nice blend that goes into it, but it's got a real kind of chocolatiness kind of tempered with a little bit of kind of tropical fruits, I'd say, and that nuttiness and that chili kind of spice really pairs well. The reason it's called Dapper cigars was simply that when they had their first box, kind of their first band designed, Ian's always been very focused on this kind of beautiful artistry to it. His next door neighbor looked over the fence and kind of just went, "Hey man, that's a real dapper box," and that kind of became their,
the name stuck, right?
The name stuck from that. So, but an interesting one from this is that fans of Oliva cigars will probably enjoy this cigar because Ian has a very close working relationship with the team over at Oliva, and a lot of the tobaccos used in his blends, including for this one, some of the fillers and some of the binders, are sourced from Oliva. And so again, when what people don't often know about is you have these huge brands, and some of them are producing even more tobacco than they can make, or they are part of the kind of distributors of tobacco leaves. With New World Cigars, there's when you're going to make a new blend, because you're not tied to making it from one country of origin, you literally have a whole world of tobacco at your disposal to create these beautiful and amazing blends. And so larger names like Oliva and Plasencia and those kind of people were producing tobacco leaves that are going into brands that people may not have known about otherwise. And so that's another reason why I think it's always very good for these smaller companies to be given a larger platform, because they're using the same ingredients, but they're almost less bound by some of the kind of production regularity that the larger companies need to go for. And it's a really nice symbiosis, because for the large companies producing in huge volumes, the kind of maintenance of that blend and that brand flavor is very important. So you're looking for consistency throughout. When you have leaves that may be very good but don't necessarily fit that blend profile, what are you going to do with them? If you're a smaller producer, then you're looking to make probably a much smaller volume, so that consistency of a blend across that time is not such a priority. But this allows you to use exceptional leaves that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be used, and it fits in very well. For the whiskey lovers out there, it's very much like almost like independent bottlers.
Yes.
They will take a cask that is too vivacious or lively or different to the brand profile from a producer, but they get to release it in a different format. And that kind of experimentation, I find, is what's very interesting about the boutique and smaller producers in the new world. And they offer something just a little bit different, which is always exciting to try.
Obviously, the proof is in the pudding, or perhaps the tasting of the pudding. And I can say I've tried all of these. Whenever you've brought some in, they've been amazing and different. As you quite rightly mentioned, the palate has been challenged in some cases. Very easy smokes in some cases, and thoroughly enjoyable. They've been added to my collection of regular cigars. And how lucky we are to have you not only here as a master of Habanos, we all remember that, but also as a master of cigars, truthfully, because your selection is exquisite. Yourself and Mike have done such a good job, and we and our customers get to enjoy that. So thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. And viewers, thank you for your patience and indulging us with this lovely evening. Have a lovely evening.